matters got. As matters get worse, who do you blame? Somebody else, right? That's what I did. As in war, the victor only seemed to win. See, our moments of triumph were short-lived. See, I've pretty much seen the world, especially relationships, as this win-lose kind of deal. See, I win, you lose. If you win, I lose. And that's pretty much how I've played it. See, and I never noticed that it's lose-lose. See, there never were any winners. See, the only thing that's going to work is win-win. See, it's a real interesting change of view. Okay, it is plain. Plain means clear and evident that a life. Whose life are we talking about? Our own. See, which includes deep resentment, leads only to futility and unhappiness. See, so what are you inventorying in your life? Are you inventorying all the wonderful moments? See, all the bliss? See, and the love? See, are you seeing a whole lot of futility and unhappiness, see, in yourself? See, as you write your inventory. See, where's it all coming from? See, to the precise extent that we permit these, see, and we do permit them. See, we love them in many cases. So, I was talking a little while ago. Some of these things I would just hug. Some of these things I just love to get into and just be all full of self-pity and hate and anger and plot revenge and drink while I was doing it, and all that shit. See, so I definitely permitted it. To the precise extent that we permit these, do we squander? Everybody know what squander means? Waste the hours. You know, in my case, see, it was not hours, it was years. See, and decades. See, literally squandering, see, life. So do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile? But with the alcoholic, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, you got to ask yourself, are you convinced of that? Are you still hoping for something else? You still hoping to find a way out of step 4? The alcoholic whose hope that he really doesn't have to make any amends to anybody.
No, there is a way out of step 4.
Yes.
Do it.
Yeah. So the alcoholic whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience. See, not a dealing with our feelings or any of that stuff. This business of resentment is infinitely grave. See, but see, what do a lot of us just think and assume? See, we think this business of resentment is fixable. We think we can deal with this business of resentment. We think this business of resentment is justifiable. See, we think it is rationalizable. See, we think it's excusable. See, we think a lot of things that are very different from infinitely grave, don't we? See, you might just look at your own experience. See, and if you haven't thought something other than this business of resentment and anger in my life is infinitely grave, blam, true or false? Okay, so we found that it is fatal. See, but who's the we? Yeah, see, the people who wrote the book. See, and they're sharing that experience with us. See, not many of us have found that it's fatal. See, and the way we know that is all we got to do is listen in an AA meeting. Listen to all the people who got them, justify them, rationalize them, excuse them, deal with them, vent them, da-da-da-da-da. See, but to them it's not infinitely grave. See? They're not sitting there going, holy shit, I need to do something about this. Okay? We found that it is fatal. See, well, it either is or it isn't. See, that's either a fact or it's not a fact. It's true or it's false for you. See? I found that it's true for me. If you think it's false and it turns out to be true, there's a price in your future, see, for being wrong about that. Okay? Just something that you got to look at. Okay? So we found that it is fatal when harboring such feelings. So such feelings get harbored where? In the mind or deep down in?
Deep down in.
See, what do we do then? We shut ourselves off from God, the sunlight of the Spirit. See, so now you're on your own. You're running on self-will with your resentment. What happens then? Thought of drink will enter the mind, the insanity of alcohol. Alcoholic has no mental defense against that. What will happen? He or she will drink again. Okay? He or she drinks again, what happens? The allergy kicks in. Okay? The phenomenon of craving, what happens then? The well-known stages of a spree, and that is repeated over and over and over again. So the person's doomed. True or false? Okay, so the insanity of alcohol returns, and we drink again. With us, to drink is to die. If we were to live, we had to do what? Be free of anger. True or false? Statement, blam. Okay. Grouch into brainstorm. See, whining and complaining and bright ideas and the latest, self-help book and see all that kind of stuff. The grouch and the brainstorm, not for us. See, they may be the dubious luxury of normal men, but for alcoholics, these things are poison. What's poison? Whining, complaining, bright ideas. The grouch and the brainstorm. Dealing with it. Trying to fix it. See, that's poison. You gotta ask yourself. See, how long have you been playing with poison? I did it for about 15 years. See what happened? I stayed drunk. See, doesn't work. Okay, so we turn back to the list, where it held the key to the future. We were prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. We were prepared, you might underline that, and ask yourself, are you prepared? See, to look at all this from an entirely different angle. We began to see that the world and its people really dominated us. Well, we either see it or we don't see it. See, if you don't see it, something's wrong. Okay? You have to start looking into, how come I don't see that? See, if we're following directions, see, we should have begun to see that the world and its people really dominated us. Now, in that state, see, and that is a hopeless state, remember? The wrongdoing of others, column 2, fancied or real, had power to actually do what? Kill. True or false? See, how could we escape? And how could we deal with it? See, we saw that these resentments must be mastered. Right? You either see it or you don't see it. If you don't see it, something's wrong. See? If you follow directions, you'll start to see that these resentments must be mastered. See? So ask yourself, do I see it? If you don't see it, something's wrong. Okay? We could not wish them away anymore in alcohol. Anybody in here tried to wish away your resentments? See, wish they would just go away. Leave me alone. See, did it go away? See, no, they don't. Okay, so this was our course. This is the beginning of the solution here. See, we realize that the people who wronged us need to be forgiven. They did the best they could. Is that what it says? No, see, that's somebody else's idea. See, what does the book say? We realize that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. Okay, how do we know that? Are they in collision? Had evidence of being spiritually sick. But we did not like their symptoms and the way these disturbed us. They, like ourselves, they were sick too. See, so now you got two wrong people trying to prove what? They're right. Collision. All right, so we are powerless. We just admitted that, so we need some spiritual help. What do? We rely on God. What decision did we make at step 3? We ask God to help us show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended, see, isn't that diplomatic language? Have you ever been offended? See, I very seldom say, I'm offended. God damn it. When a person offended, it sounds like a deodorant commercial. We said to ourselves, this is a what? A sick man, or woman, or puppy, or child, or whatever. See, how can I be helpful? See, we want to be of service. We're trying to have a new attitude. See, page 20, a constant thought of others and how we can help meet their needs. So how can I be helpful to them? God saved me from doing what? Being angry. See, are you starting to do that? See, are you asking God to remove your anger? Okay, thy will be done. See, anger doesn't seem to be a very spiritual thing, does it? It doesn't seem to have anything to do with God's will. It seems to me, in my experience, to be a totally self-will kind of thing that goes on that I don't have any power over. Okay. So, this is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? God saved me from being angry. Thy will be done. Okay, we avoid retaliation or argument. We wouldn't treat sick people that way. If we do, we destroy our chance of being helpful. See, and that's step 12 for us. See, and our recovery is going to depend on whether we can be helpful to other people. See, so here's the problem. See, if we're running around full of resentment and anger and all that kind of stuff, see, and we're arguing and retaliating, then we can't be helpful. But we need to be helpful. That's step 12. We need to be practicing this in all of our affairs. See, so who are we actually killing? Ourselves. See, we're stomping out our own chance to be a recovered alcoholic. So we cannot be helpful to all people, but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view of each and every one. And we talked about that some last week, about the amazing amount of promise in that one statement. See, if that was true in anybody's life, wouldn't your life be rather peaceful? See, wouldn't there be a great lack of collision and unhappiness if that one sentence right there came true in your life? What are you willing to do to have that come true? Are you willing to follow the directions? So you start practicing this stuff. Okay, now one more time through the fourth column. Referring to our list again, putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done. We resolutely look for our own mistakes. Where had we been? Selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened. Okay, now just one more thing that might help you if you get stuck on column 4 and you're having trouble seeing your own side. This is a little trick that works sometimes. Let's say that it's your husband or your wife, and you got all this stuff, it's their fault, see, and I can't see my column. See my fourth column at all? I didn't do anything. So you might hit one of these. Okay, so just mentally imagine that person that you're angry at, see, is an alcoholic, see, in an AA meeting somewhere learning about the steps. Okay, and that person, see, has to do their fourth step. See, so there they are sitting with their spiral notebook at a table and a grudge list. See, and your name is right at the top of the grudge list. Right? So they take your name and they put it in column 1. Now what are they going to write in column 2 about you? Okay? See? See? If you take an honest look at that, you'll have a pretty good view of what ought to be in column 4. See, here on your inventory. Does that make sense? See, that's a way to help you get unstuck if you got some blind spots. See, it'll give you a pretty good look at your own selfishness, dishonesty, self-seeking, see, and the fears involved.
I can give an example.
Sure.
If somebody owes me money, I know exactly how much money that son of a bitch owes me. And in column 4, I got to put exactly, they know how much I owe them. And that comes from the self-seeking and dishonesty. I got to do a little research and put down the dollar sign, because they know it.
You bet. See, they know what we did. That's true. Did I answer your question? Well, is there anybody you're mad at and you can't see your side of it?
I have a hard time what am I looking for usually, and the fear is usually what I want from with honesty. I'm real cloudy on.
Okay, all right. Is there anybody else having trouble with that? See in column 4? Okay, let's take a break and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, everybody else clear about it? Column 4, how to do it? See, if you're not, everybody else take a break, and everybody who's not clear, get out a piece of paper. Might help if everybody does this. See? Yeah, as a matter of fact, why don't we just all do this? It'll only take everybody get a blank piece of paper. Everybody get a blank piece of paper. Okay, draw 3 columns, or 2 lines on it so you have 3 columns. And label them. I'm resentful at, the cause, and effects mine. Yeah, you got it. Okay, everybody got that? All right, now, who is the first person on your grudge list? Who's the first person in the people list? Everybody know who that is? Okay, now I want you to imagine that you're that person. Okay, you're not you now, you're the first person on your grudge list, all right? See, now that person, you, is sitting somewhere doing their fourth step. And they go over to their grudge list, and the first name on their grudge list is yours. Write that in, I'm resentful at. Okay, now, putting yourself in that person's place, fill out column 2. They're mad at you. Why? What is the cause of their resentment towards you? Just write down the facts. Be specific. They're really pissed. Get it all down there. They're nitpickers. Get it down there. Learn anything? Does that help? Does that make it a little clearer too? Okay. Can you take what you have written there and kind of like see selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, fear in it? Okay, so that gives you a pretty good way, see, to start writing your fourth column, okay, to see what your faults are and to admit them honestly and where you've been wrong, and what you've done, see that kind of stuff? Okay, see, so all you need to do, see, is to put yourself in their shoes, see, take your own inventory. See, and that'll give you a pretty good view of what needs to be going in column 4. Does that make sense? See, that's what I had to do with my ex-wife, because obviously I was not at fault in the fact that that marriage failed. I mean, that was really true. If 1980 2, before I took my inventory, I just gotten sober. I mean, I had no fault whatsoever in the collapse of that marriage, none whatsoever. And you could have gone to any member of my family or any of my friends and said, remember when Mike and Candy got divorced? Oh, yeah. See, why'd that happen? Well, see, that bitch, that. Every one of them would have said that because I convinced them all. See, that it was her fault. She's aced. See, and everybody thought, oh, yeah, she is just this horrible woman. See, and I believed it myself, see, right up until the time I did this. See, and I realized that, it wasn't her fault. See, so it's just stuff you got to face. So, great, face it. If it's true, face it. That's all. Okay, let's take a break now. And we'll get into the fears. Everybody ready to talk some serious fear here? Okay, first thing I'm going to do is let's look at our experience of some of the stuff we hear in AA meetings. Anybody ever been in a meeting where the topic was fear? How do you deal with fear? Stuff like that. What are the kind of things you hear shared in a meeting where that's the topic? You ever hear stuff like fear is false evidence appearing real?
Fuck
Fear is
everything and run.
Fuck everything and run. Fear is an illusion. There's nothing to be afraid of. I overcame my fears. I walked through my fears. This, that, and the other thing about fear. And most of the time the discussion degenerates into a bunch of slogans and cliches. See? And, some people being honest enough to admit that they still have a lot of fear. Been sober for years in many cases. Okay? See? And the thing that is most noticeable about these kind of discussions is nobody has a solution to it. Everybody's just launching hugs and stay in AA and sit in a meeting and, keep busy and don't worry about it and this too shall pass and da-da-da-da-da and walk out in the parking lot and go, ah! See, the fear never goes away. Have you heard that? Have you seen it in your own experience? Have you noticed that, it's just like anger, it's something that no matter how you deal with it or cope with it, it doesn't go away. It's just this ongoing condition of life. It just becomes normal, and pretty soon, we get resigned to it, and we begin to believe that you can never be free of it. And nobody ever really is free of their fear. Nobody ever really is happy. Nobody ever really is free of their anger, and that kind of. Does that make sense to anybody? All that, I started looking into. And so, what I put up on the board is a simple question: what is fear? So. When we started the resentment part of the inventory, what was the first thing we looked at? What is anger? Exactly. See, what is that? Okay, so the definition that's up on the board there is fear is a painful emotion or sense of dread. It's apprehension or anxiety. See, and there are a lot more manifestations of fear than the ones that I wrote up there. This is just a summary of what a dictionary will say about it. So. I'd like to suggest to you once again that you go to your own dictionary, get a good dictionary, and look up fear, okay, and see what it has to say. Can anybody suggest what some other manifestations of fear in a person's life are other than what's up here? Sense of dread, apprehension, or anxiety? Paralysis. Sure. What else?
Pride.
Pride. Okay.
Anesthesia.
Anesthesia?
Like reason.
Yeah, okay.
Decisions based on fear.
Yeah, decisions. Yeah. How about worry? You look at worry in your life. Is that generally a fear generated? See? Usually worry when you're happy and secure and content. See, or is it generally when you're afraid of something and insecure? See, that kind of stuff.
Anger too.
Start looking at, this thing called fear and begin to ask yourself, how much of that do you have in your life? See? Do you call it normal? Are you resigned to it? Do you believe you can never be free of it? See? Those kind of things. See, the book has some very definite things to say about fear and how to get and stay free from it. See, and there are only 4 paragraphs on that in the whole book. See, but these may be the most powerful 4 paragraphs ever written when it comes to fear. See, because it tells you what it is and why you have it and how to get rid of it. See? So we're going to start looking at that now, bottom of page 67. So the first word in the last paragraph is what? Notice. What does notice mean? Observe. See. Look. So notice that the word fear is bracketed along with difficulties with Mr. Brown, Mrs. Jones, the employer, and the wife. So let's go back to page 65. We'll look at column 3, and do you see that there? See, in every instance there's fear. All right, now how many of you have started your 3-column inventory? All right, is that showing up in column 3? See, are you beginning to notice, see, that in all of these resentments, fear is there, see, in you? And that's what we all begin to find, see? So notice that it's there on the example. If you've already started your inventory, see, notice that it is on your inventory. Okay? So notice that the word fear is bracketed alongside the difficulties with those 4 folks, Mr. Brown, Mrs. Jones, employer, and the wife. And see, and also notice it in your own inventory. It says, this short word somehow touches about every aspect of our life. Okay, what does the word every mean? All? And what's an aspect? What does the word aspect mean? Yeah. An area or a side or a view. Okay. So, what do they mean? Well, let's take a look. Let's draw the old useful circle here. Let's write the word fear real small in the middle. Maybe put the word my on top of it so it says my fear. And let's have the circle, the big circle, represent my life. See? I want to divide my life into aspects. See? So we'll make it look kind of like pieces of a pie. Now, what are some of the aspects, see, in my life? All right, how about, is there a sex aspect? Yeah, there sure is. Okay. Are there emotions? Emotional aspect to my life? Yep. See, are there feelings? Yep. How about family aspect? Yep. See, how about health? Yep. How about financial? Yep. Anybody else name another aspect of life? Work, career, sure. Okay. So what I'm putting up here is by no means a comprehensive list. Just want you to see that you can take your life and divide it into a bunch of different aspects. Can you do that? Does that make sense, Steve? See, there can be other things. There may be philosophical aspects to your life. There may be religious aspects or spiritual aspects to your life. See, the program aspect of your life. See, so make your own pie, see, and come up with your own aspects. Just begin to notice, see, that there are a lot of, see, little compartment kind of places, see, in our life. And you might just look at that, see, and right in the middle of this, see, we put fear. Begin to ask yourself, does fear enter in, see, to these aspects of your life? See, does the word fear somehow touch? See, do you see fear in all of these aspects, whatever you're writing down, see, on your piece of paper? See, is there fear in your sex life? Is there fear in your family life? Is there fear in your finances? Is there fear where you work? See, is there fear in your emotions? Is there fear in your feelings? Okay. Just start to ask yourself that. Can you be honest with it? See? And does it look like maybe, see, fear is a bigger problem than maybe you ever realized? See? And they're saying this short word somehow touches about every aspect of our life. See, so we'd all come up with a shorter list if we just found the one aspect where fear didn't enter in. See, how about the way you look? See, how about your children, parents? See, all that kind of stuff. Fear, 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 fear. Okay, this short, back to page 67. The short word somehow touches about every aspect of our life. So does that seem true to you? See, it's not difficult to see if you just take a look. So if it seems true, make a little note out there. Yep, looks true to me. See, lots of fear in my life. No big deal, pretty common. Okay, it says it was an evil and corroding thread. Now, have you ever seen corrosion on a battery terminal? Everybody know that white stuff that eats away at the metal on a battery terminal? You know what happens when that stuff gets on your clothes? It just melts fabric almost. See, that's what corrosion is. It eats away at stuff. Okay, so look at your life. Does fear, eat away at all of these aspects of your life? See, it may not just be a great big, Charlie mentioned paralysis. For me, that one, I call that one terror. Okay, and I had a lot of terror in my life about a lot of things. And generally, I had to be terrified to realize that I was afraid at all, because when the moments of terror and panic, were gone, I just lived in a condition normally full of fear. And to me that was normal and had been normal all the way through my life as I looked back, and learned. I was diagnosed in the 70s as having an anxiety neurosis, severe. Anybody know what that means? That's somebody who is scared shitless. That's what that means. The shrink who diagnosed me as that never explained that to me. And I walked around, I was kind of proud. Well, I've got an anxiety neurosis, severe. Oh, jeez. I mean, that's how nuts I was. Yeah, that did not scare me. I did not understand what it was. If she'd have said, it was a lady, and if she had said, what this means is, you're scared shitless, that might have got my attention. But she never did do that. We talked about anxiety and neurotic and severe. We never talked about fear. And I never understood what was wrong. And I just lived in that condition, called it normal all of my life. When I first went up to Sacramento, I was staying with my cousin and her husband, and they used to kind of get a kick out of watching me work with alcoholics up there, and they got kind of fascinated by some of the things that went on, and we would talk about all this. And her husband asked me one day about all this. I had just gotten through going through all this fear stuff with a newcomer, and he said he didn't really understand it, what the real problem was. He'd heard me talking to a whole bunch of people about it. So I asked him if he had ever been really, really afraid in his life, and he said, yeah, once or twice. You could see him. He went back, recalled a couple of times. And I said, well, just remember, go back and recall what that felt like when you were in it. And he said, okay. And it was just like one or two incidents. Most normal people have a couple of those. And I said, now imagine that you had to live your life in that 24 hours a day for 40 years. And he went, no wonder you guys drink. He finally understood, what we're talking about here. How an alcoholic can just live, in this fear, for years and years and years. And we cope with it. We're expert copers. We've dealt with it all of our life. We've coped with it, and it got us here, but we don't get free of it. You might start looking. Is childhood an aspect of your life? Fear touch that? Evil and corroding threat? Adolescence, teenager? Fear touch that? Your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, depending on how old you are? Fear touch that? Evil and corroding thread, the fabric of our existence. What does your existence mean? Your whole life, beginning to end. The fabric of our existence. We're shot through it. You're going to look at this shirt so you can see what he's talking about. You take the white out of the shirt, the whole shirt falls apart. The fabric is woven in with the white. Okay, and that's, fear everywhere. The sleeve, there's an aspect, another sleeve, there's the aspect, the collar, there's an aspect. Whatever you call all the various parts of a shirt. Shot through, with that. There is nothing exempted, every part of the shirt. Okay, if my life is my shirt with all its various parts, fear would be the white in it. And there's no exceptions. Every aspect of my life. So start asking yourself, is it that way for you? Is sobriety that way for you? If we're walking around and we're full of fear, what is going to be excluded? Nothing. See, it's an evil and corroding thread. The fabric of our existence was shot through with it. Anybody got any fear about the steps? Fear about the solution? Fear about God's will? Fear of your sponsor? All that shit? See, no matter what we do, afraid of the book? See, no shit. I mean, just look around. See, it's fear everywhere. Okay? So, the short word somehow touches about every aspect of our lives. It was an evil and corroding thread, and the fabric of our existence was shot through with it. True or false for you? See, if it's true for you, make a little note there. Hey, it looks true. Could be. Might be accurate about me. Because just in the same sense that we couldn't do the resentment part of the inventory until we found out about anger and admitted that we have it. See, we can't be honest about the fear inventory. We don't know what it is, and if we don't admit that we have it. Does that make sense? See, so this paragraph right here is to get us to take a look. Is that true? See, am I a person with a lot of fear? See, am I scared shitless of a lot of things a lot of times? See, do I live with that as a condition of my life? Okay, and then it says it refers to fear, set in motion trains of circumstances which brought us misfortune we felt we didn't deserve. Okay, so misfortune, is the crap that happens to us in our lives. Generally, when crap happened to me, I'd blame it on somebody else, or I'd get all full of self-pity, see, and I'd say, God's doing it to me, and nobody loves me, and all that kind of stuff. See, so every time there was misfortune, I always felt I didn't deserve it. It never occurred to me that my own fears were causing a lot of it. See, if you look at your own life, can you see problems that have occurred because of some fear prior to where the problem was? See, like, spending money on dope instead of rent, and then, see, driven by fear. Spending money on alcohol rather than rent, or your kids or something like that. Here comes a problem. Misfortune we feel we don't deserve. But if we go back, see, we'll see that maybe fear set that in motion. See, somebody relapses in Alcoholics Anonymous. See, they went back. They probably see fear, see, of reading the book and working the steps. See, got them to a point where what happened? They relapsed. Misfortune they felt they didn't deserve. See? So if you look at a lot of the crap that happened in your life, see, and go back before, see, you'll see fear setting in motion, trains of circumstances, see, which brings us misfortune we feel we don't deserve. But did not we ourselves set the ball rolling? What does that say? Who started it? Who actually did it? Whatever the misfortune was. We did, see? Coming out of our own fear. One of the things Kelly said when I was asking about manifestations, see, was decisions based on fear. You ever made fearful decisions that later bit you on the butt? Yeah. See, so once again, see, this is a lot like what we saw over on page 62. They were asking us to take a look at all the times we got hurt and the pain and the stuff we've experienced in our life. And what we invariably find is that some decision based on self placed us in that position. We are responsible for it. Okay, so here they're telling us pretty much the same thing. See, that fear and the things we do as a result of our fear, see, start the same ball rolling. See, those of you who are familiar with the Bible and the book of, I think it's the book of Job or Jeremiah, one of those, there's a famous quote in there that which I greatly feared hath come upon me. See? It's a spiritual deal, see. Fear is a very powerful thing, see. It's a very attractive kind of force spiritually. See? And a lot of the things that we fear seem to happen. See? We spend a lot of our time going, I don't want that to happen. Blam, it happens. Over and over and over again. See? Did not we ourselves set the ball rolling? Ask yourself, is a restoration to sanity have to include freedom from your fears? See? Can a person who's scared shitless be sane? Think clearly. Make decisions or choices of any kind that are going to work? Do you believe that a power greater than you can remove fear from you or free you from all the fears you got in your life? Is that part of step 2? You believe that? Did not we ourselves set the ball rolling? Okay, top page 68. Sometimes we think fear ought to be classed with stealing. We got any thieves in here besides me? Yeah, cause trouble. See, I didn't do any B&Es or any of that kind of stuff. Only shoplifted a couple of times in my life when I was a kid and got nailed. And see, that set in motion trains of circumstances that kept me from shoplifting again. See, a lot of stuff. See, but that doesn't mean I'm not a thief. See, I've been stealing things all my life from a lot of people, including their dreams, their ideas, their happiness, their security, see, stuff like that. See, I'm as much a thief as anybody I condemned as, oh, this is, some street guy, fuck him, he's a dishonest criminal kind of guy, see. And judge him, I'm not like that. I'm just like that. I've done that to people. See, I steal all kinds of things. And it causes a lot of trouble. Sometimes we think fear ought to be classed with stealing. It seems to cause more trouble. So you got to ask yourself, does that seem true? Fear, big problem in your life? Okay, so that whole paragraph, see, is to get us to a point where we can look and see what fear is and start to admit that we have it, see, because if we don't understand that and don't look at it, then we cannot follow the directions of this inventory. Okay, so everybody clear about that part of it? Okay, next paragraph. See, now what are we going to do now that we admit, see, that we do have a lot of it? See, we reviewed our fears how? Thorough means what? Completely and done through to the end. Not your 10 biggest, not the ones that are bothering you today the most. We reviewed our fears thoroughly, see, but we've admitted that our fears include what? Every aspect of our lives. For how long? Fabric of our existence, all the way back. See, so this is going to be a pretty thorough inventory. Okay, now the question arises: didn't we write down our fears? See, in column 4 of the resentments. Okay, next sentence. See, we put them on paper, even though we had no resentment in connection with them. Okay, now what we wrote in column 4, remember where we've been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened. We wrote down some fears there. See, and those fears there in column 4 were in connection with a specific resentment in each case, right? Everybody clear about that? All right, so now we're going to put down fears that have no resentment in connection with them. See, so we're going to start looking into these other aspects of our lives, see, which didn't show up in the 4th column in connection with resentment. Okay, so everybody get a blank piece of paper. Top of the paper, write the word fear. Okay, and all we want to do at this point is, this is just like the list of anger that we made at the beginning of the 4th step. We're just going to make a list, see, going back through our lives, of fear and fears, see, that we have ever had. Okay, so, you can use this thing if you want. See, or just say a prayer, see, and start listing fears in your life. For example, you ever been afraid of what people think? Afraid of making a mistake? Afraid of barking dogs, mosquitoes, snakes, alligators? Death, disease? Afraid of men, afraid of women, afraid of sex? All kinds of sexual fears most of us have, various kinds. Financial fears. Start looking at that little pie that you drew. See? Ask yourself, see, what kind of fears do I have in that area of my life? Big ones, little ones, funny ones, ridiculous ones, doesn't make any difference. Just, if you got them, make a list. Don't judge it. Don't leave anything out. Just make a list. Fears about the steps, make sure those go down. Fear of my sex inventory, fear of my 5th step, fear of my amends, fear of God's will, fear of spiritual awakening, any of those kind of things. Fear this won't work. Fear I can't be honest, fear I can't be fair. anybody that's got kids, almost everybody who's got kids got fears of what's gonna happen to their kids and all that kind of stuff.
And as a parent,
Fear of how maybe your drinking career, drug career, that, has affected them and all that kind of stuff. Take a look at those things, be honest about that. doing this inventory, the more I looked into it, the more amazed I was at some of the things I found. I had had a fear all my life of holding somebody's baby. Somebody had a baby, and we're always going, here, you hold him, you hold him. See, and I always had this thing, see, what if I drop it, screw it up, you know, that kind of stuff. Fear, one of the aspects of my life. See, another one that was always there, every time I got undressed with a woman for the first time, fear, what's she gonna think? See, anybody got that? See, fear of how your body looks and whether it be pleasing and rejection and all that kind of stuff. See, so, you know, like look into the nooks and crannies of your life and see if you see stuff like that. Every time I've ever gone into a supermarket, I always had a fear that I bought too much and was going to have to take something back. And I was going to look like an idiot. Fear of compliments. Anybody try to avoid compliments or find yourself unable to accept a compliment? Oh, this old rag. Fear of being put on the spot. Do you ever get put on the spot and have this thing happen where you just choke? Fear of talking in front of groups. When I was new in AA, if I'd have seen somebody like me doing what I'm doing right now, stand up and talk in front of a bunch of people, I'd go, how did they do that? Scared to death. If you are superstitious in any way, you might look at that and see if there's fear involved in that. You know, that black cat, break a mirror, spill the salt kind of stuff, walking under ladders, all the various kinds of superstitions that there are. So you see, those aren't fear-based.
With my ex-husband, I used to be so scared of sex because I read this part in the Bible. Angels would watch over the marriage bed. I like to think of with these angels watching us have sex.
Right. You bet. Those angels are voyeurs, aren't they? I always wanted to be an angel. Yeah, I'd like to watch. Fear. Yeah, be real thorough about all the sexual fears and stuff. Tell you one great big fear that I had that almost kept me from doing my fourth step or getting on with any of this at all is that I had had repeated failures in every relationship with a woman all the way through my life. No relationship with women had ever worked. And quite often after a relationship would break up, I would get hit on by a gay guy. And this thing, as it occurred again and again in my life, began to plant this seed of doubt about my own sexuality. There was all this evidence that I can't get along with women, and this evidence that, something about me, would bring these gay guys into my life. See, so I got to see this inventory. See, and I had this. See, it's funny, but it's not. I was terrified. See, that I was going to take my inventory and find out I was gay. See, this was a major fear, and it almost kept me from doing my fourth step. And one of the things I found out with gay people that I've worked with since then, see, is that most gay people have the same fear. They're afraid that God is going to make them heterosexual. See, it's really true. See, and so if you got something like this, see, I mean, there is an amusing aspect to it, but it's a very real fear for a lot of us. See, so what I want to tell you is that I have never worked with an alcoholic, see, whose sexuality changed as a result of taking their inventory, see, and working these steps. Okay, see, my own fear was real big, and there may be some people or one person in this room, see, who's got a big terror about that. See, so I just want to bring that up and share my experience with you, see, that I've never seen it happen. See, what it is a fear, see, and it needs to be faced and all that, but I've never seen anybody have to change their sexual orientation in any way, see, as a result of taking their inventory. Part of this fear inventory that you might take a good look at, see, is all the little slimy secrets and stuff that you've been afraid that anybody would ever find out about you. So you're willing to face those fears. So you put that on your inventory. Two of my biggest, deepest, darkest secrets, they were a couple of homosexual experiences I had when I was 13 years old that nobody was ever going to know about, and the fact that I jacked off a dog when I was 9. Okay? And nobody was. Okay? These things ate my lunch for years. Yeah, I can talk about them now, but okay, when I got to AA, this was, what if somebody found out? I mean, this stuff really is doing a number on me. See, so you by no means have to read your list off in front of a group of people or any of that. Just remember, see, that this is between you, between your higher power, God as you understand Him, and one other person that you're going to talk to about all this in confidence, whoever you do your fifth step with. See, and nobody else. This isn't going to get published in the Albuquerque Journal, and it's not going to be read at a meeting, and it's not going to be put on the news wires or any of that. Anybody got any fear that what's on your inventory is going to get passed on by who you do your fifth step with? That's pretty common stuff. Anybody worried about that? Some other areas of life. You ever been afraid that you're going to get ripped off? Car mechanics, automobile salesmen. Vacuum cleaner salesman. Fear of saying no. We got fear of telling somebody else no. Fear that people will take advantage of us. Supposed to. So you got a fear that by being honest, you're going to harm somebody else? Put it down.
God, I forgot about this part.
Everybody getting a new definition of what thorough means? Good. What about fear of change? Anybody afraid of change? Fear of any kind of habits you got that you don't like smoking, drinking coffee, eating, sex stuff, other kinds of things. Fear of gaining weight, fear of losing weight, fear of the size of your body parts. A lot of us have that kind of stuff. Anybody ever had fear of making a commitment? Like in a relationship? Fear of making decisions? Stuff like that. Nuclear war, economic collapse, your least favorite political party taking over the White House. Huh? Skinheads. Yeah. Various kinds of music. The general moral decline of the United States. All that kind of stuff. Here's some foreign country is going to buy up the U.S. Offshore oil drilling, pollution, acid rain, overflowing landfills.
Too selfish to think about that kind of shit.
Good.
Those are our dress fears, okay? Those are the fears we use in public.
That's it. Yeah, that's a great term.
Now I keep wondering, how come I'm not worried about the environment? What's wrong with me? Everybody's worried about it, I'm not.
How about fear that everybody else is doing the steps better and quicker? More thorough.
Okay, so everybody got a pretty good start on this? We need to move on and go through the rest of the stuff on page 68. So this is part 2 of the inventory. Hope everybody's, anybody amazed that maybe you got more fear than you thought you had?
This is part 2 of column 4.
No, this has not. This is part 2 of the inventory. The first part of the inventory has to do with resentments. Those 4 columns. This is part 2, which has to do strictly with fears in every aspect of our life. And as you go along, writing the first part of the inventory, you might, some more of these fears might pop up. Just come over here and put them on this list. Okay, now let's go back to page 68. Up at the top, line 3, first paragraph, it says, we reviewed our fears how? Thoroughly. So we're going to go going through every aspect of our lives. See? So don't judge any of this. Just take a look. See? If you've been afraid of the dark, put it down. Whatever you got in your life, write it down. Okay, so we put them on paper even though we had no resentment in connection with them. See? So now, just like when we did the fear inventory, the anger inventory, see, we have a list of fears. That was the first instruction in the first part. Same thing here. See, so now it's on paper. See, so now we're going to ask ourselves about this. So the first thing we do is have a list of all the fear. We go, hey, there is really a lot of fear in my life. Everybody see that? Okay. There really is a lot of fear in my life. Okay. Now we asked ourselves why we have it. See? Well, what did we ask ourselves about anger? Why did we have that? See, so we ask the same question. All right, so that's what you do now. You go to fear number 1 on your list. Once the list is complete, and you say, why do I have that fear? See, what's the reason that I have that fear? Fear number 1.
Just like these columns?
Well, no, you don't have to. See, notice that there isn't a form here on page 68. See, but you can put these in columns if it makes it clearer for you. Okay? See, but there are 2 questions that need to be answered for each fear that is now on the list. The first question is, why do I have it? Okay? So if you just look at your list, see, pick up your list again, and look at fear number 1 and ask yourself, why do I have that fear? See, and what you can notice is that you have reasons. See, there are reasons for having the fear. Can you see that? See, everybody remember the God of reason from chapter 4? See, how we've always had faith in the God of reason? Well, if you ask yourself why you have it, see, who did you just consult? The God of reason. See? How do you know that? Here come the reasons for having the fear. Okay, so write down the reasons you have the fear, whatever those reasons are. See, and now you can notice 2 things. Number 1, you got the fear. Number 2, you got reasons for it, but you still have the fear. See? So the God of reason, see, just having reasons or explanations for fear, see, has never gotten rid of the fear. Does that make sense? See, so we have a fear, and we have reasons for having the fear. See, so now we got the fear and the reasons, but we're still not free of the fear. Make sense? Okay, we go to the next question. See, wasn't it because self-reliance failed us? See, so how have you relied on yourself, see, about this particular fear? Run, hide, drink, blot it out, pretend it isn't there. See, come up with a new reason or a new explanation. See, has any kind of, see, self-reliance solved the problem of this particular fear? So don't I really have this fear because I've been relying on myself all my life? See? Isn't that the real reason that I have my fear? See? Hasn't self-reliance in all of its forms failed me? See? I still have the fear. You got power over it? Is there any form of self-reliance that solves the problem we'll call fear of death? My solution to the problem called fear of death was to claim that I wasn't afraid. I'm not afraid. That was utter horse doo-doo. See, I was scared. See, but there wasn't anything I could do about that, see, so I just said, I'm not afraid. See, and that's generally what I did with most of my fears. I just claimed I didn't have them. See, that didn't make them go away. I just tried to, I claim I didn't have them and blot them out and run from it and hide from it. It's pretty silly for a guy with an anxiety neurosis, severe, to walk around saying he ain't afraid of anything. The first time I wrote my fear inventory, see, I did the steps 3 times. First 2 times I didn't follow the directions. The first fear inventory I wrote had about 8 fears on it. That's it. That's all I'm afraid of. I'm John Wayne. No problem here. So like way less than thorough and honest. See, death wasn't on there. So, Nothing I was really afraid of was on there. Big bad dogs, guys with guns, just typical stuff, that anybody would be afraid of. See, but thorough and honest, no way. Okay, so everybody understand that? You go to fear number 1, ask yourself the 2 questions. Once you got that, you go to fear number 2, ask yourself the 2 questions. Go to fear number 3, ask yourself the 2 questions. Say all the way through the list. Say, why do I have it? Say, does self-reliance fail me? Isn't it really? Because self-reliance in any form, see, has failed me. See, you might notice, see, having written this list, the fear isn't really an illusion, is it? See, my fears are pretty real to me. See? If I'm sitting here terrified and somebody says, well, it's all an illusion, well, tell my guts, see, that this is an illusion. There's no illusion. I'm terrified. See? When I'm that way, I can't choose to have a happy day. See? I can notice that it doesn't pass. See? And if it seems to pass, it goes around in a circle and comes back. Okay, clear about that? So let's go through that again. We reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper even though we had no resentment in connection with them. We asked ourselves why we had them. Wasn't it because self-reliance failed us? Self-reliance was good as far as it went, but it didn't go far enough. Okay? Some of us once had great self-confidence, but it didn't fully solve the fear problem or any other. Okay? So if some of them had great self-confidence, what did the rest of them have? No self-confidence. Okay, so I'm one of the people who had no self-confidence. See, I can be honest about that. I go back through my life. See, and I can see, anybody here go to Catholic school besides me? You have to go out and sell magazines and donuts and, all kinds of useless horse stuff to, people who didn't want it. Okay? Yeah, I was always going out, with that kind of junk. We had to sell a quota, and if we did, we were made to feel like idiots if we didn't sell it. And I can remember all the times, going down door to door, see, and it looked like these sidewalks were about 8 miles long, and I'd be walking up to the door and this fear going on, see, and I didn't want to do it. My mom's back out here saying, go on, you can do it, you can do it. I'm going, fuck. See, and I'm going up there, and the door looks 15 feet high, and I go, knock, 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 and some giant guy opens the door, what do you want? And I'm going, you don't want to buy any donuts, do you? And he goes, no, slam. And I come walking back. Oh, like this. See? There were these other kids, man. They'd go out and sell, 92 boxes of donuts, 6,000 Christmas cards, win all these prizes and bicycles and shit. See? I'm always the guy, see, and jealous, and I couldn't figure it out. See? I've never had any self-confidence.
You don't have to be Catholic to have gone through that.
Probably not. It's probably pretty common stuff for a lot of people. Anybody in here play Little League besides me? I was a pretty good athlete when I was a kid. And every time I walked up to bat in Little League, I was absolutely convinced that the guy with the ball out there was trying to hit me in the eye with it. See? That was my point of view. It never occurred to me he was trying to throw it where he was supposed to throw it. See? So I went up afraid. Every time I ever played baseball, I was afraid. See, I was going to get hit, get hurt, see, look bad, all this kind of stuff. See, I never enjoyed it. I never had the confidence to play the game. See, I could do it, and other people said, hey, that kid's pretty good. See, and I was pretty good. But they didn't know what was going on inside. I was terrified. Just terrified. All through, all athletics, school, all that stuff. I've never had any self-confidence. See, now some of us don't have that problem. Some of us do. See, but whether you ever had self-confidence or whether you never had it, where did you end up? Right here doing what? Right in the fear inventory. See, so whether you had it or whether you didn't have it, did it solve your fear problem? That's the evidence. See? Look and see if self-confidence ever solved a relationship problem, a money problem, any kind of problem. Fully solved any problem. See? It's one of the things that goes on in AA today. See, it's part of the psychobabble message in AA. See, is that self-confidence and self-esteem are the solution here. See? And yet our book tells us that by no means is that true. See? People who are relying on anything don't admit that they are powerless over it. Is that pretty clear? Okay. See, so some of us once had great self-confidence, but it didn't fully solve the fear problem. One of the next three words, or any other. All you got to do is look at your own experience. Okay? You can ask yourself a very logical question. If a human being acquires some self-confidence, okay, what do they do with it once it has been acquired? Do they eat it? Can you wear it like a jacket? Can you put it in your wallet or your purse? Can you stick it in a bank? Can you hide it under a bed? Can you keep it in a drawer? Can you wear it like jewelry? See, what do people do with self-confidence once they have acquired it? See, it only has one purpose, see, and that's to rely on it. See, that's what we do. We rely on self-confidence and self-esteem. Okay? See, so if we're going to rely on that, are we going to rely on God? You can't have a foot in both buckets. Okay? So some of us once had great self-confidence, but it didn't fully solve the fear problem or any other. Does that make sense to you? Okay, when it made us cocky, it was worse. Everybody know what cocky means? That's when your knees start doing one of these. Got it made now. Anybody notice that when you get cocky, you generally tend to get in collision about twice as fast as when you're not cocky? That's what always happened to me. Yeah, I get me. See, so usually when I'm doing this, it's because I'm afraid. The cockier I get, the more afraid I generally am. It's a pretty good fear indicator for me. See, so they said when it made us cocky, it was worse. So when what made us cocky? Self-confidence. See, you remember in Bill's story, he said, now I had what it takes. See, I could laugh at the gin mills. I'm sober, no problem. He walks in to make a phone call, and what happened? Got drunk. See, when it made us cocky, it was worse. Okay, so you might just look at your own experience of that stuff. Okay, see, so what are those two paragraphs all about? The problem, see, and admitting that we're powerless over it. Okay, so grab your fear list now that you just made, or just started anyway. And let's ask ourselves the same question about all these fears that we asked ourselves about the resentments. See, is there anything on your list that you've been afraid of for more than 24 hours? Is there anything on your list you've been afraid of for more than a week? Is there anything on your list you've been afraid of for more than a month? A year. See, but we're not powerless over this, right? 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. We're not powerless over this, right? We can just wish it away. We can handle it. We can cope with it. 20 years. Anybody? 20? 20-year fears? 25-year fears? Yeah. 30? I'm passing away. 35 years? Being afraid of things? Okay? And we keep launching slogans and hugs and self-will and reasons and all kinds of stuff, but what's the truth? It's still on our list, isn't it? Okay? And see, do you have power over fear? Is it an evil and corroding thread in your life? Does it make your life unmanageable? Second half of step 1. What's the solution? See? Do you have a solution? See? Or step 3. We made a decision to turn our will and our life over to the care of God as we understood Him. Okay? So, is a restoration to sanity going to include a removal of fear? Either is or isn't. Okay, next paragraph. So perhaps there is a better way. We think so. For we are now on a different basis, the basis of trusting and relying upon God. How did we get on that basis? What step? Yeah. See, so you got to ask yourself, am I now on that basis? See, am I at least getting there? See, we trust infinite, which means unlimited, God, rather than our finite, which means limited selves. Okay, so you can look at your own experience of that. Towards the end of my drinking, when I was holed up in that apartment down in Lomita, I was pretty much limited to get mad, get even, get drunk, get mad, get even, get drunk, get mad, get even, get drunk. That's a pretty finite kind of place for a human being to end up. See, and that's pretty much the way it was in my life. Get mad, get even, get drunk, get mad, get even, get drunk, over and over and over again. I had absolutely no solution to it, see, and really pretty much unaware at that point of what even was going on in my life, other than the misery of it all. So we trust infinite God rather than our finite self. So taking a look at your list of fears, see, does it seem to you that maybe whatever solutions you've been launching at this are kind of limited and unworkable? Okay, you might just take a look at your own experience. Can you solve the problem of all that fear? Okay, we are in the world to play the role he assigns. Where did we get there? Bottom of page 62. We decided that God was going to be our director. See, hereafter in this drama of life. We meant it or we didn't mean it. We are in the world to play the role he assigns. So ask yourself, who's been assigning the role in your life? So, have you assigned your own role? Is there a lot of fear that's resulted from that? Okay, so just to the extent that we do as we think he would have us and humbly rely on him, see, instead of what? Ourselves in any form. See, does he enable us to match calamity with serenity? See, now if that particular line comes true, so if you can match the calamity that occurs in your life, see, with serenity, see, then the rest of your life ought to be pretty much a piece of cake, wouldn't you think? See, if the big deals don't cause you to go nuts. Okay, we never apologize to anyone for depending upon our Creator. Anybody do that? Don't talk about God. Okay. We never apologize to anyone for depending on our Creator. We can laugh at those who think spirituality the way of what? Weakness. All right, so, see, as we go through the steps and begin to take them ourselves, we see that this is no game for jelly beans. Okay, this is by no means the way of weakness. Okay, paradoxically, it is the way of strength. All men of, the verdict of the ages is that faith means what? We got any brave, courageous, and bold people in here? Yeah, I wasn't either. See, I've done a few things that look kind of brave in my life. Generally did them out of fear. See, or generally did them because I was a guy, the only guy around. See, and that's what a guy is supposed to do. See, but see, I've never had courage. I really don't have any experience of that up until the time I started working the steps. I've never had anything like the courage of my convictions. You ever heard that? Not me. See, I was always a pretty wishy-washy guy. See, I'd fight and argue and all that. See, but I never backed people up. I wasn't loyal. I wasn't trustworthy, reliable, dependable. See, any of the stuff in life that really takes courage. See, never willing to stand alone, tell the truth about anything. See, that kind of courage. Never had that. Not even a clue about any of those kind of things. It says all men of faith have courage. All right, so that's a statement in the book. It's something that you might want to look into. See, and there's lots of evidence in the world. You can look in libraries and bookstores and all that and read about spiritually awakened people and see if you can find a wimp. See, anywhere back through history, someone who was truly spiritually awakened. See, you won't find any wimp, men or women. See, they generally were pretty courageous kinds of folks. All men, so that includes mankind, men, women, children of faith, have courage. They trust who? Their God. See, people who trust God seem to be able to find the ability to trust other human beings too. Things that I discovered as I went through the steps. Because I've lived my whole life without much faith, courage, trust, any of those things that in order to be happy, a lot of us need. Okay, all men of faith have courage. They trust their God. We never apologize for God. So notice how they repeated that. It's the first sentence and also this sentence. Okay. Instead, we let him demonstrate through us what he can do. Okay, so why do we want to do that? Well, see, my experience is that if you look at a videotape of my past, just look over my shoulder, and here's my life up to the time I came to AA and worked the steps. See, what you see back there is a smoking ruin. See, all the relationships, the job stuff, all of this. See, chock full of collision and fear and selfishness and self-centeredness, and people got hurt and, collapse and despair and hopelessness and all that stuff. See, my whole life, see, was that way up till the time I came to AA. Now, that's my demonstration. See, that's what I can do on self-will. See, there it is. See? Now, I don't want to continue to demonstrate that. See? I'm not going to be able to stay sober if that stays, see, the condition of my life. See? So what I want to do now, because I've made this decision and I'm cleaning house, see, is to ask God to demonstrate through me what he can do. See, because I've already demonstrated what I can do. I did the best I could. See, and it fell somewhat short of the mark. So you got to ask yourself, see, are you willing to do that, to let him demonstrate through us what he can do? There's a real famous quote. Anybody ever heard of Mother Teresa? That lady, little lady over in India who does all that work, you know, she looks like a real do-gooder and all that. See, people are always saying, oh, you're really cool and you're really neat and you really need something. She says, see, it's not me doing that. She said, I'm just the pencil, see, and God's doing the writing. See? She's saying exactly the same thing that the book is saying here. See? We let him demonstrate through us what he can do. Okay, so you got to ask yourself, you're willing to, see, start seeking that in your life? Okay, so now here comes the thing that's called the fear prayer. All right, so you might underline this. Notice that it has two parts. It's part of completing the inventory on fear here. Okay, so the first part of it is, see, the solution. See, so we ask him to remove our fear. Now, see, it can't be that simple, can it? See, it couldn't possibly be that simple. See, don't we have to have a real complicated, complex, psychologically based, see, very wordy, 8,000-page small print, 4-column solution to this? See, this problem that we just wrote down? See, or is it really that simple for someone who is truly seeking an experience of God in his or her life to be honest about the fears and to ask God to remove them? See, because we are powerless. Can't be that simple. So don't believe this at all. Okay, so that's the first part, see, but there is a price to be paid. Okay, so we ask him to remove our fear. What's the second part? Direct our attention to what he would have us be. See, at this point where we are, see, so our attention is probably going to get directed to the remainder of the fourth step, which is the sex inventory, and the fifth step, and the sixth step, and the seventh step as we go on through the process. See, but this really does work. See, okay, it worked for me. See, a lot of us are hanging on to a real old idea. See, that we've got to have a real complicated solution, see, to this problem. See, but maybe the solution isn't that complicated at all. See, so ask yourself, are you open-minded to that? Now you got it all on paper. It says we ask him to remove our fear. Why? We're powerless. See, self-reliance failed us utterly, completely.